Hey everyone, today we're creating some Scenic miniature bases, using an FDM printer. We'll cover a few settings that you might want to know, and we'll print a couple of different options favouring either speed or quality. Hey everyone, my name is Jacob from Painted for Combat, and today, yes, we're printing some FDM Scenic bases. Specifically, we'll be using them for these SpaceBears that I compared and painted up in a previous video. There are a couple of different reasons that you might want to FDM print your miniature bases, from having a consistent basing scheme across an entire army of miniatures, to the simple ease of just hitting print and having a bunch of bases there, rather than messing around with cork and glue and basing flock. Or perhaps you're just like me, and really don't like resin printed bases. They tend to leave behind a very uneven bottom surface, and I don't want to be flinging a bunch of resin dust into the air sanding them down. And these are all great reasons to be using an FDM printer for your bases. Today we'll be comparing two different model types for bases. We'll also be looking at prints with two different size nozzles, and we'll be sneaking in a few special slicer settings that can save you a bunch of time. Let's get into it. I figured the natural place to start is with a 0.2mm nozzle, following my recent settings that I outlined in my Orca Slicer settings and guide video. And I will pretty much be using those exact same settings here, with two minor changes. One, I'll be increasing the infill density to 15%. This will just ensure that there's no warping on the bottom of the bases over an extended period of time. And I'll be increasing our top layers to 6, just so that we have a nice, even and sturdy top face on these bases. We'll be printing two different options here. One, a full Scenic base, and one, just the base topper. Base toppers are great if you're just using FDM to create additions for your minis that came with their own blank bases. Overall, this base and base topper, printed with the 0.2mm nozzle, took 2 hours and 2 minutes to complete. And they look fantastic. All the sculpted rocky details have been captured, and even the smaller details like these bullet casings have been rendered really nicely. So, with a 0.2mm nozzle, these bases took a while. And let's say that you're looking to base 5, 10, 20 miniatures. Maybe over an hour per base doesn't work for you. Well then, let's reinstall our stock 0.4mm nozzle, and see what the difference in speed and quality might be, as well as looking at a few additional settings that might save you a little more time. I will once again be using my print profile from the guide video I mentioned earlier, including my adjustments that I recommend for a 0.4mm nozzle. On top of that, I will be bringing over the 15% infill and 6 top face layers that were used on the previous prints as well. But I'm also going to run a duplicate of just the base. And to this, we're going to apply an additional setting that can easily save 20 to 30% print time depending on the base you're printing. On our duplicate, let's come over to our Models tab and add a height range modifier. What this will do is let us change the settings for this model for a specific height range. For us, that will be from the very bottom of our base, at 0mm, all the way up to just where the sculpted details start, at just above 3.5mm up the base. And now we can change the layer height of just this specific range to 0.16 or even 0.2. The rims of these bases don't need to be super highly detailed, they're just cylinders, so I think that thicker layers should be just fine for this part of the print. But let's go ahead and get these bases printed off and see how the thicker rim layers look when compared to the counterpart, and to also see if there's a noticeable difference between these and our 0.2mm nozzle prints. At a glance, before these even have paint on them, there really isn't that much of a discernible difference in quality between the two nozzle types. You're still getting nice clean prints, and you're still seeing that stepping on the same rocky areas of the base. And this is common among most bases that are designed for resin printing, is that their flat rocky surfaces are at an ever so slight angle, causing some obvious stepping in the print. And unfortunately, this is caused by our layer height and not our nozzle size. So we're going to be seeing this across all of the bases that we have today, even though our printer is on the lowest layer height that it can be. I'm going to go ahead and get some primer and paint on these bases, and then we'll see what we think. I just wanted to quickly interrupt to say thank you so much for watching this video. You can see that the camera angle is a little bit different today, and that's because I'm in the process of reorganizing my hobby space to allow me to film better videos. We have some exciting stuff in the works here on Painted for Combat, so do stay tuned for the improvement to videos that you'll be seeing over the next couple of months. We also have some really interesting and exciting videos coming up really soon, so make sure that you subscribe to stay tuned for all of that. Even painted, these are all still looking very similar. You can see that the thicker base rim does have visible layer lines, but if you're not too worried about that, you could easily get away with it for that decrease in print time. And at this stage, any quality difference that the 0.2mm nozzle might have had, even at a short viewing distance a couple feet from the print, is almost totally gone. only those very fine details are reading any more detail than the 0.4mm nozzle. And yes, I have opted to dry brush the majority of these bases' details, which will naturally pull out most of those layer lines and make them even more obvious. Even so, you're still really only seeing obvious lines and layers on the top faces where that stepping has occurred. A layered paint job definitely would hide these, but if you're gluing a model atop these rocks anyway, chances are that these harsh details will just disappear with a model on top of them. All up, the 3 bases with our 0.4mm nozzle took an hour and 41 minutes. But if a little over half an hour is still too long for one base for your liking, you could easily increase the layer height. Just know that the stepping is going to become more obvious, and any imperfections are going to be even more pronounced the more you increase that layer height. So let's say that you're trying to base 30 miniatures, 30 bases. That's, what, a print time of 15-20 hours? You could very easily let that passively run overnight, and that way you're still saving a bunch of active hobby time by not having to make these bases by hand. If you're excited by the idea of some more FDM optimized scenic bases, let me know down below. I'm currently working on creating some of my own FDM friendly bases that will be focused on support-free printing and eliminating things like the stepping that we've been seeing today, simply by baking fixes to those issues into the sculpt itself. So do let me know if you're excited to see those in the near future. Leave your comments down below, even if all you're doing is saying hi. It lets YouTube know that you like what you're watching, which in turn helps the channel to grow and reach more people. Like if you liked, and subscribe to stick around for the awesome stuff that I have planned in the very near future. But most importantly, thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.